Hi, Warriors. Good turnaround Tuesday. Consumer Pain Index out. RBA eased. How's everyone doing today? Alexander, how are you? And AJ, Ingmar, hi, Blake, Mike, Ryan's around. Yep. John Hawkins. Okay, Man's here too. All right. Bran, Hugo, Steve, Ayaz Khan. Morning. How are you? Adam, how are you? Glenn? I'm not even going to try. Tamu no Buami. Welcome to Face.
You tried and you did that well, I think.
Really?
Yeah, I
Okay.
mean, you said I'm not even going to try, and then you did it. You did
Yeah.
good.
Oh,
Yeah, look,
huh? It was
you said,
right?
yeah, right.
Oh my goodness. All right. Well, you know, um, senility has its advantages. Anyway, I want to just talk about a couple of things before we get to the currencies here. And, sometimes I bring things up, it's kind of outside of our wheelhouse, but it's not going to be outside of our wheelhouse as we make a transition. We're going to be looking at, sectors and, what's going on in the markets. And I brought up cannabis a few weeks ago, a few times, been talking about it. It was a real long
Dude, you're
base.
high. You are high.
I put my bong away, but look at that.
Wow.
Yeah. So all of them. We were talking before the breakout. I was talking about this huge base. Um, doubles. They were all doubles or triples. You could throw a dart. And now that the president's come out, we could get, even though it's not the fact, it's the fact that he was talking about it over the weekend. Could see some profit taking, but you look at a lot of these on. If we have a wave two pullback, I'd consider it. Before it was a theory, right? When you're looking for bottoms and tops, it's a possibility. But then once you have the first wave up or first wave down, um, sometimes there aren't pullbacks, but I mean, huge, huge, huge move. Okay, so why don't we talk about the RBA? Good morning, Ryan. How are you?
Good morning, Sire.
Good morning. Do you think that the Aussie is getting punished a little bit too much for? I mean, it's not punishment, but I guess in August, being the weak sister is. You have a view on it here?
I run a bit of support at this 64.80. The RBA wasn't too much of a surprise. It's been a very, very small move going on here. If you look at Aussie Kiwi, that's hardly budged. So that tells you that that Aussie dollar move is a bit of the RBA, but more so a bit what else is going on in the dollar today as well, ahead of that
Okay.
data. So yeah, it's Bullock was she came out with a couple of dovish comments, and then she did go a bit dovish in the end, saying that to get their forecast, they will need to see further rate cuts.
Mhm.
But it's the path they're on, so it's not a big shock for them. If we get down to 64, 40, 50, that was the big historical break point, then maybe I'll have a little sniff, but we'll wait.
Looking left, you're talking about this area here, 64 and a
Just
half.
just a
Okay.
bit just a bit lower, yeah. 64.40. It was the point of resistance for several weeks before we got
Okay.
the break up.
Yeah,
Like
right.
going back beginning of the
Okay.
year sort of thing.
Okay. That also, I believe, is 61.8. So I would try it there too. Anything? Do you have any levels you want to sell U.S. dollar yen at, Ryan? 149-ish, anything like that? Because I mean,
148.60s. There's a bit of a level, and then the big one for me is 148.80, 85,
okay, that's close
which would
enough.
which would potentially, mark a big, huge top up there around that. Some people probably looking at the head and shoulders aspect.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
for me, but
Yeah.
So 60s and 80, 85 around there.
All right. So we're getting closer. Maybe a little hotter number might push it up there sometime this week.
Yeah.
But I mean, to me, it doesn't look like the difference between this high and this high is, even though it was a little over 70, we've had two divergences now. This was confirmed, this was confirmed, this one was not, even though it looked like, it was really motoring here. So I think this looks like it could be a good bear market rallies sell, failing rally.
If it holds there, it could be huge. We could be talking all the way back down to 146, 145, something like that.
Yeah. Okay. Uh, any other action anywhere that has your attention? Any big levels like an S&P where you throw a stop in and make 100 handles
Wait,
like you
did
have
you
in
guys
the
talk
past?
about UK jobs data?
No. How's it going there?
Crap.
And
Crap or crap.
cable likes it.
Yeah, well, no, we had one of those situations where the data wasn't good, and the fact it wasn't worse than it could have been was the good news from it. So yeah, the pound remains supported around here. It's looking euro sterling's. Yeah, I'm still long. I'm just toying with maybe adding a bit here, but I've got support basically every 10 pips from 86.20 down to 85.90. So I'm already long a bit higher up, 86.70s and 87. So I might try and improve my average. But if we're under 85.90, maybe the tide is turning a bit for pound weakness. But you got to have patience with this one, as you know, Dale.
Yep. This almost looks too pat the way the dollar held, the breakout and the moving average, you know. But it has. So, I took half. I stopped remain from last week's longs under 98. I don't know what to do in the meantime. I feel like I want to fade the dollar for some reason. Maybe it starts with the initials GH.
I think your Dixie looks solid between 98 and 99.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this was, classic confluence, 61.8 back,
Yeah.
the whole deal.
And
So,
that's the big thing with summer markets at the moment. You've got to pick your levels, and Blake was saying it the other day. You've
yeah,
got to
target
pick your
trading.
levels, and stick with it. You're talking about dollar yen at 149. Well, your Dixie at 99, right there. It looks like a similar solid level, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know what this was. I think it was a mistick. Um, okay, so that's what I'm seeing. Blake, I know you're bearish WTI. You have a pattern in play here.
Yeah, yeah, I am. I mean, it looks vulnerable. And it hasn't really had much follow through to the downside. I think 62, $61 still looks possible.
Yeah.
But I think we're going to get more after the Putin
Oh,
Trump
yeah.
meeting. I mean, that's probably what the market's waiting on, at least right now.
Look at
So
nat gas. That's really been cratering for weeks now.
the
So
Widowmaker.
yeah, there's a few out there. I actually have the line I have is all the way down here. I have a hard time believing it could get there, but I don't know.
Sometimes
As
you got to
long,
use your imagination. That's what another bong hit will do for you. You just
yeah. So I think we'll at least take this low out here, um, clean out stops. But I think, I just like the narrative, so I'm looking for places to buy. With all these big data centers,
yeah.
and everyone thinking we're going to be able to go nuclear. That's going to take years. And the bridge is natural gas. So if these data centers are going to be up and running, they're going to need energy to run it. And nat gas is cheap. We have the pipelines to use it. Still think there's a big play coming in that commodity. And, it's way out of favor, like the grains. Um, I think do we have Angie on today? I'm not
Angie
sure.
is on today. Yeah.
All right, because we're getting some, potential bottoming signals in grains. They've been suffering from the tariffs, like China's not going to buy, but they all have some pretty nice bottoming patterns here, especially corn. So that'll be interesting to hear, Angie, on that. So Blake, you want to take it away with
Yeah.
what you're seeing, and you also have a pattern in place short S&Ps.
No,
Not anymore.
I had one
Oh,
and
okay.
it got taken out. So
Okay.
it did, and so I just it continued to squeeze, and I'm ultimately I've been looking for 65 25. That's 127% extension. I knew it's somewhere up here, but like the
Yeah.
patterns in play happen to be at levels. I don't, you have to use the levels. You can't just like I can't just make an assumption that we're going to get there until we, actually get there. So I'm trying to
Okay.
find it right now. I don't know where it's up here.
You
Yeah, so I don't know if we stopped shy, but we're in between, we're right now we're in between the breakout point and that big 127% extension. It comes in at 65.25. That's the underside of the trend line. That's the level that I've been hoping we get to. It's just, you
we
know,
could we take
we
out that
still,
four.
yeah,
We take out
yeah.
440. We're there.
Yeah. So you got to be patient. That's, what we've really been talking about this the last couple of weeks is just, figure out the levels that you want to be involved in the market and get in at those levels and wait for those levels. It's important. My trading has been very limited the last week and a half. I did actually get limited into a position. If you guys want to know, like, you just go over to the trades room. This is in the Forex Analytix community. You can actually see, what positions I'm running at any given time, and same with K-Man and Ryan, and there's so many great traders posting what they're doing in the trades room. It's not just us. But if you are curious on, oh, well, what's Blake running right now and where is he taking positions, you can see it. It's and a lot of and I actually had a trader he's a new to trading, and he's like, so is this a copy trade type of thing? And I'm like, no, it's not. I don't. I post things so you guys have, and this is same with, I'm sure Ryan and K-Man can give their flavor on this, and I'll say what I have to say and then bring these guys in about the trades room. I don't expect anybody to follow what I'm doing. But many of you have known me for, years, if not decades. And if you have, a respect for what I'm doing, and I happen to be long the euro, you're short the euro, that's where you can actually jump in the trades room and actually have a conversation with me and say, oh, well, that's not it. You can actually come in and say, oh, well, Blake, why are you in this position? And well, Dimitri was answering, or making something there, but making a comment there. But people can comment on why I'm doing something. And I'm, like I said, I don't trade with the expectation that somebody's going to be following me. But if I'm long the euro, you're short the euro, or vice versa, and you want to talk about it, this is the place to do it. And this is the place where you can have conversations with not just myself, but any other trader. But Ryan, do you expect traders to follow exactly what you're doing?
No, what I expect is traders to learn, not just from me, but from everyone. We just did a whole webinar on risk management. So, what the trade room's for is to help people with that as well. How we manage a trade. It's not just about where I'm buying or selling, where you're buying or selling. It's how we progress through the trade. So, what happens if a price goes offside? What happens if you get in profit? How you manage that? How you try and make the most of a trade? It's about the process, not about what the
Yeah.
trade is.
You know, and K-Man, you know, if you go to the general chat room right here, and good morning, by the way, guys. You go in the general chat room here, and K-Man, you know, writes exactly what he wants to do today. So it's very much your way or the highway, right, K-Man? This is your two pairs of choice. You write them right here. That's why you post everything in the room, right? You're just telling people exactly what to do and when to do it,
No,
right?
I don't tell people what to do. I
Yeah.
tell people what I'm going to do. This is what we do. And I expect in
Hmm.
the trade room, I actually expect to do the traders exactly the opposite of what I do. So at least one of us will be laughing. I'm joking. Of course, I'm
You know,
joking. But
that's the thing. That's the thing. I came out. I just want to reiterate something that you just said. This is the one thing I always take pride in. We are not weatherman analysts. I don't ever come back to you and say, "This is, oh wow, you know, you idiot. Why didn't you buy the euro here? Why did you sell the euro here?" No, we tell you what we're going to do before we do it, and then we look at the ramifications afterwards and talk about what happened afterwards. I take great pride in that type of analysis. And you know, it doesn't mean that we're going to be right or wrong. It's just, you know, we're telling you what we're going to do ahead of time. So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to I just wanted to elaborate on that one subject because I think it's really important. But how valuable do you think it is to have these conversations with other traders regarding our trade ideas, K-Man?
but it's massive because a lot of people may just overlook things. Actually, the thing is specifically when we talk about our trades, is to give just people insights about what we think and why, just why we think it. This is something that just helping people to make up actually their own mind. I'm not expecting people to follow any of my trades really, but just have them like think about, oh, okay, and why would you do that, and so yeah, I mean, it's just and it's helping a lot of people apparently. So we must be doing something right.
Yeah. I agree. Hey, you know, I know you guys talked a little bit about the RBA, but how did K-Man, since you're here, what was your analysis of the RBA decision overnight?
Yeah, less hawkish than Bullock may have been in the past. She's been gradually moving over to the middle of the road. What was interesting is that, well, two things. Their base case is around extra cuts or a cut. That's their base case now. But she did warn that it may not be warranted to have more than one more cut. So she does remain very cautious. For the rest, it was a lot of blah 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 around data dependency and stuff. But and I happened to be to be up for the meeting, but yeah, the, yeah, I think the most interesting thing is that she actually comes back down from her hawkish stance to a much more neutral stance.
Yeah, and so as a result, but Oz is trading pretty heavy. Is that
Just for
what why would you say?
the rest of the dollars are bid as well.
Yeah.
And if you're expecting a higher CPI print, it may have an impact on risk. And if you print a very high CPI, risk is probably going to suffer a little bit, and Aussie is somewhere a risk currency. So that, I guess, is why people are reluctant to keep too much of their Aussie in the books.
Makes sense. Hey, you know, Tim writes in, he goes, Blake, thanks so much for mentioning that you've been more limited in trading than usual the last couple of weeks. I too have been quiet as of late. It feels like I've been waiting so long that I'm beginning to doubt myself. I continue to reflect on Dale's comments. Don't try to be patient, be patient. And it's really this is the time of year, Timothy, and I'm gonna go to Dale here to talk about this in 1 second. But this is the time of year in the month of August. I mean, like just give you an example. Steve, he's been in Rhodes for the last week and a half. You know, our developers on vacation. So many, we barely hear from Grega this month. You know, he's been out. Most Europeans are out. A lot of Americans are out on holiday. You know, a lot of big money has stepped away from the market. It's very similar trading environments in the month of August that it is in the month of December. Like right after, right around right around the holidays, it starts to get really thin. And that means my trading really, my volume and what I'm doing gets really small. And then, post Labor Day, so basically after September 1st or 5th, right around then, that's when trading starts to pick up. And I always look at the beginning of September as the beginning of the trading year as traders. That's like really, January 1st for us is really like September 1st, if you will. And so just realize it's normal. It's normal these times of years. You tend to I tend to take a step back. I tend to be less active unless I have a really good idea that I'm trading, which I do right now, being short Swiss francs. That's the only thing I'm really focused on right now. But we're going to talk about some of the best trade ideas that we have coming up. But Dale, you want to talk a little bit about being patient this time of year?
Yeah, it'd be a good time to go away.
It is.
Right.
Be like Dale. Be at the beach.
It's a good time to go away and maybe check the markets at the opening and the close and realize you're not missing anything major. And uh, it's hard to find time to recharge your battery. So, like Blake said, those 2 seasons are a good time to recharge yourself for another 6 months.
Yeah.
Because it can be, mentally, it's intense. Okay, that's why they say it's a younger man's game because it can be pretty intense. But I found that the intensity leaves when you don't make every trade too important. That's really the key. Is
Yeah.
every trade is just another trade instead of you have so much conviction and this and that and you're in too heavy. Just make every trade another trade. Then you don't do cartwheels when you're right, and you don't go fetal when you're wrong. And that's part of the longevity too. And getting away from the markets for a little while teaches you can do it. If you could be away for a few days, not pay attention, um, you come back with let's ask the expert at going away in our company and how it helps him when he comes back.
I think he's alluding to you, Ryan. So
What?
Ryan,
What?
Ryan, don't you see the market better after you've been away and taken a break when you come back and you feel fresh?
I'll let you know Monday.
All right.
No, but you're right. No, you're absolutely right.
Uh,
Sometimes it does help to walk away, and just because a lot of traders get stuck into the real short term, the intraday moves. Particularly when it's quiet, they want to know a trade every 5 minutes. I need a trade. I need a trade. Sometimes when you walk away and do something else, I get fat because if I'm not trading, I'm walking to the fridge 50 times a day. But
I
it,
do
it
that
just
anyway.
it clears your mind a bit,
Yeah.
and it just allows you to come back and look at things freshly. And one thing I advise traders to do as well is if they are getting sucked into the really short term in quiet markets, open up a new chart or clear off your old chart and redraw your levels and really try and pick the levels that you really want to trade. Because like me, you sit here in a week and you add 10 lines a week, different levels intraday, and your chart becomes a mess. So clear out your charts, give yourself a clean, fresh look, and start again, and then pick the levels you want to trade, and that helps you with the patience.
And also look at the monthly and weekly charts.
Yep,
That'll keep you
yep,
patient. You look at those charts to get a narrative for when you come back. It'll give you a bias going into what you're looking to do by looking through
exactly.
your
You should,
telescope.
if you're
Yeah.
doing your work properly in terms of how you set up, you shouldn't need to look at a chart to know where your big levels are, where your good levels are. Everyone should be able to, you can ask me about pretty much any pair, and I'll give you 3, 4, 5 levels without looking at the chart where I would potentially look to trade. And that's how you help with your patience as well, because you think, right, well, those are the levels I'm going to trade. I don't care what happens in between. I'll read a book.
I heard
Yeah,
this. I heard this as if you can't say what the last is in the markets you trade, you're trading too many.
that's a great saying
Yep.
rule of thumb. Hey, speaking of which, hey guys, we got 5 minutes before the CPI comes out.
Yay.
I want to hit up with what are the your trades that you're looking at? K-Man's already told the chat room, but I'm gonna come back to him on that. Ryan, what are you looking at today? If we get a strong number, what are you going to be looking at? What are you going to be trading? I'll tell you what, I'm going to tell you guys what I'm trading today. But strong number, weak number, what are you thinking?
I think strong number. I've got a few dollar positions on, so I'm gonna be doing a lot of monitoring on that. Dollar CAD, if it gets above 138.10, we could be going for a run towards those highs. Dollar MEX as well. It banged its head on the 1869 level a few times over the course of the last couple of days. Needs to get above there. Maybe we get a run on 19. So big range, 1850, 19 to watch in that one. And yeah, just managing the rest of my mess that's on the books.
All right. Just really quick, I really am focused on the Swissy. Remember, there's a few reasons why I want to be short Swiss francs. We got Russia, Putin and Trump meeting on Thursday. I have a feeling that we're going to be looking at some, Ukrainian peace talks, which is going to be less reason to own Swiss francs. The Swiss tariffs are well in force right now, and I don't think that the Trump administration is going to, give them any relief anytime in the near future. And then on top of that, you got this interest rate differential that continues to tighten, or excuse me, to widen between the U.S. and Switzerland. If there's strong data, I'm looking for the dollar Swiss to continue to pop higher. I want to continue to focus there. And I know, K-Man, you probably want to talk about what you're seeing in the yen, yeah?
Well, yeah. As you know, I usually have two trades. One if the number is beating expectations, and one if the number is softer than expectations. So it's undeniable that the yen is still on the weaker footing against in the crosses. Okay, so I guess if we get like a hotter than already predicted or expected number, dollar yen could actually fly up to 150 or so. Um, so that's going to be the side on the currency pair that I'm looking at least over the data. And if the number is softer than expected, since the sterling is doing pretty well, I think cable could go for a ride up into the mid 135s or so.
Thing has not been it's not been relenting, that's for sure. And it
How,
thing is really, really strong.
how's the gold look to you, Blake? What's your gold look?
Gold looks
Um,
like shit. I mean, look,
all right.
it
So that's
rejected.
something else that if there's a peace deal that it could accelerate to the downside.
That's
Yeah,
correct.
I mean, we challenged the underside of that trend line. We
Yeah.
sat there all week last week, grinded into it, and then
Into the full moon.
into the full moon, and then reverse there. Now we got just a
Uh,
couple minutes. I'm gonna set us up, but Dale, what are you thinking today aside from gold? Anything else you looking at?
I might fade some dollar strength for a scalp here
Some
because
dollar strength for a scalp. All right, I'm gonna
yeah,
actually pull up here's the dollar. I'm doing it on the other screen. Here we go. So we have the dollar index to the right or to the left, excuse me. The dollar index is right here. Yields on the 10-year right in the middle. S&P right here to the and I don't think the stock market's gonna like it too much if inflation comes in too hot. This is your data flash. You can find it on Forex Analytix. It gives you the live data as it's coming out real quick. We on core CPI, market's looking for a tick higher at 0.3% month over month. Month over month CPI data expected 0.2%, which would be a tick lower. And then year over year numbers expected at 2.8, so a little tick higher. So we'll see if the data, is firming up a little bit. If so, we might get a bit of a response. I think this is what everybody's waiting for the data right now. So we have 5 seconds. Here we go.
Thank you, Angela.
A little hot on the core, but a little soft on the headline.
Yeah. All
Or
right.
unchanged CPI.
Average hourly earnings 1.2, weekly 1.4, and building permits over in Canada.
I just picked up a little bit of dollar Swiss on that dip, as I've been wanting to buy a little bit more. So, man, look at that. Little soft on the year over year.
It's in line. Well, it's unchanged over last month.
Unchanged, but
The
via
core,
expectations. Yeah,
the core's gone up more. The core takes it.
What are you guys doing? You guys doing anything? I bought dollar Swiss at 80 something, 82 or 83. I got picked up at a really decent price there. Yeah, I bought that dip just right in the 80s. As soon as it dipped down there, I don't know if I want to hang on to what I just bought, but that's what I did. You guys doing anything?
I haven't
anything.
touched anything now.
Might have a little nibble in dollar yen. Let's see. I don't think it's soft numbers, no matter what the market's doing with it.
Yeah, like I said, I picked up a little dollar Swiss just down here on that dip.
Yeah,
K-Man, you doing anything here? I mean, sterling broke higher.
I've got some dollar yen at 148.
You got some dollar yen at 148.
Yeah.
Oh, I might actually have to join you in that escapade.
I like the short side of Canada here.
You like the short side of Canada? Like dollar CAD short?
Yeah.
Really? I don't know. They're just getting bit up like right on those little dips. I'm gonna join you, I think, Ryan. I joined you a little bit at 02 in the dollar yen. Yeah, I just joined you at 02. So I'm gonna try to pick that up for a few pips too. I'm buying this dip in the dollar, guys. So that's what I did. Yeah. So I know you have Angie here. Have you grabbed her?
She doesn't want to be promoted.
Oh, let's see.
I don't know. People are against promotion in life nowadays. I asked her a few times.
Angie Seltzer. Let's see. You have to accept the promotion, Angie.
Yeah. We'll make you assistant manager.
Assistant manager of the F.A.C.E show. Hey, by the way, you guys, as she's coming over. Oh, she's over now. Hey, look, tomorrow after Dale's interview, so exactly 24 hours and 30 minutes from right now, make sure that you guys are here to talk about the breakout. We're going to have the guys from the Gelber Group talking about the competition, $25,000 in prizes. It is going to be for North American traders just because of their compliance department. But even if you're not in the United States, actually, I think U.S. based traders, not North America, just U.S. based traders. But even if you're not, dude, these guys are literally some of the best of the best. Tommy Peltier, he's been trading with Gelber Group for 18 years now. He's friends with a lot of the guys that I know in the industry that have been, trading for decades. One of the best traders you're ever going to be able to talk to and have conversations with is Tommy. He's going to be here. Same with Dave. Dave's been at Gelber for 20 some odd years. These guys are pros, and you're going to want to hear what they have to say. Even if you can't compete, you're going to want to hear about what they do over at the Gelber Group. So be here tomorrow, 24 hours from now. Dale, have a great interview with Angie and Ryan K-Man. Nice pickups there in the dollar. I like it.
I actually bought some with you.
What's that, Kay?
I actually bought some there too.
Nice. I'm Ryan. I just scalped out of the dollar yen for a quick 16. So thank you very much for that, Ryan.
No worries. I just took a quick 20 on a slice. See where it wants to go from here.
Nice trading, guys. Good job. Nice trading. Nice trading team. Thank you, K-Man. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you,
Cheers,
Blake.
mate.
Thanks,
I'll see you on
Coach.
Monday, mate.
That's how it's done. That's how you make money for breakfast. If you're here in the States, I know the Blake's gonna go have some crab legs for brunch today.
Yeah,
So
no.
I'm
yeah,
having
No.
spider's
champagne.
legs. I'm
Boy,
having
does that
spider's
sound
legs here.
good. A champagne breakfast. You have taste,
Champagne
Mandy.
breakfast. There you go. All
All
right.
right, well, let's talk about how we make bread and everything else with the goddess of grains. Angie Setzer, welcome back. How are you?
I'm good. I can't believe I'm back already. It feels like I was just on
Yeah,
like last week. So that's weird
and
to
it
me.
feels like we've had the same conversations the last 3 or 4
Oh yeah.
times with the grains still searching for lows. We're getting close to harvest, aren't we? So
Yeah.
we had big corn crop. That's why we couldn't get going. Um, Beans looked like they made an attempt last week to turn, and they're giving some back today, but right now they look okay.
Yeah.
That could be a low. What are you thinking here going into harvest?
Yeah, we have a big day today. We've got our first sort of survey driven or boots on the ground driven yield estimate from the USDA. So far, we've just had sort of this placeholder yield based on historical gains year over year and some of these other things. And so today will be a big day. Trade is expecting a very, very, very big production number. I'm not in that crowd. I think that there are a lot of issues out there that aren't necessarily showing up when you look purely at crop conditions or satellite data, just more from reports from farmers and some of these other things. But yeah, going into today, we'll have to see if the USDA confirms trade suspicion, that the corn yield is 185 plus and carry out's going to grow in a big way on the corn side, and they also assume that soybean yield is big and that we're lacking demand on the export side of things. And so we've really just kind of seen this overwhelming negative sentiment towards the market with the idea that supply is understated by the USDA currently and demand is overstated. That's really where the market sentiment sits. I'm on the outside of that. I feel like demand, is in line, if not slightly, has room for some slight growth as we move ahead, especially if the crop gets bigger, with as cheap as what we are. But yeah, we're just sitting here, same story, different day, waiting for some sort of trade deal or confirmation that trade won't be entirely disrupted. And also, really trying to determine where crop size will land as we work our way. We're about 2 months from, really being in the middle of harvest and having a better idea, once the combines get running. But that's where we sit today. Just the beatings will continue until morale improves, is what it feels like in grains.
Yeah, like basically since 23. So
Yes.
we have a couple year base building, and I just want to remind people of how long it took a base to build in the cannabis stocks before something happened. Anyway, I think that these are the most unloved commodities, and if you're a contrarian, you got to keep an eye on them and go with every buy signal you get,
Mm-hmm.
because these are pretty out of favor. And just like cannabis, just a retrace would be a big move, right? I
Mm-hmm.
mean, from 13, from 5, that's 8, so halfway back gives you $9 wheat. Same thing in corn, right? So we have $8 corn, we have 4, so it could rally 2 back, it could take you back towards 6. And then beans, we were at $15 and we've held about, that's about 6. Why can't we get back to 12? And that's a pretty good move in grains. So
Yeah.
do you think that if we since we've delayed tariffs with China, that perhaps we might get a grain purchase from China?
Yeah, I think, I
And
think
would that
China.
move it? Would that move the market, kind of give people hope that we haven't lost them?
I hope so. I would hope so. Sentiment is so poor at this point. I don't know if anything. Well, I take that back. Yesterday we had, President Trump had put on Truth Social Sunday night that he'd hoped China would quadruple their soybean purchases. First things first, it's basically impossible for them to quadruple their soybean purchases from a year ago. They'd basically soak up the bulk of the crop, and we don't need that. We have pretty significant domestic demand.
Yeah.
But China does really have to come in and purchase just to kind of fulfill their market needs, probably 15 to 20 million metric tons, or around 800 million bushel of soybeans here before the end of the calendar year. And so China's going to have to come in. I think China has been using this as leverage, though.
Yeah.
Obviously they want to be pressured to make the purchase, because once they make the purchases that they need to make in general, simply because their
Anyway,
market dictates
right.
it, it gains them political clout. So the biggest thing that I'm looking at right now, hurdle wise, when it comes to China trade relations, is this sort of claim by Beijing that the H2O chip has some backdoor security concerns. You saw overnight, Beijing had told the government entities not to use that chip. To me, I feel like that I think the chip side of things, the AI chip component in this whole
Yeah.
entire conversation brings
That's everything.
and so I think if they can satisfy China's demands for being like, hey, we want to buy what we want to buy, let us buy it, because they've seen so many export controls. I think then they toss us the bone on the grain purchases. It fits for them, it works for them. They need to secure the supply. And I don't see them boosting their purchases in a super big way. We really don't want, I'd rather they not, honestly, really upset this market like we saw in 2020, where they came in and bought, well out of line of what was expected, and well out of line of what economics would dictate. We don't want to get crazy, but we would like to see some level of business and some level of certainty as we move forward. And I think we're gaining it very slowly.
Okay. So beef prices, I saw a chart, live cattle prices went to the top of a channel. Someone said trading commodities can be very humbling.
Yeah.
So we have meat shortages, don't we?
Yeah, I mean, you have an issue with the type of meat that we have versus the type of demand, the demand for meat, and some of these other things. Like, we obviously have, fat cattle shortages, and I'm not a huge livestock person, but my husband and business partner is. He grew up on a cattle operation and has some pretty significant insight into how that whole entire thing works. I mean, to me, we have some struggles. We have a lack of import. We're not importing feeders like we should be, or haven't been. We've had some disruption there, when it comes to feedstock into the cattle supply. With restrictions out of Mexico because of some of the health concerns with their screwworm. And then now, to see a 50% tariff on Brazilian beef. We import, or we're expected to import, 700 and some odd thousand tons of beef from Brazil. Brazil's beef is very, very lean. It's something that we tend to blend into burger. It helps to stretch the ground beef supply. And so there's some realignment in that industry that probably needs to happen. And it's probably a little out over its skis when it comes to some of these price gains. It's had some fund, it's had some fund interaction. But when you look at cattle on feed numbers, when you look at overall supply availability and a continuation of relatively decent demand like we've seen, there's a reason for this. And honestly, we've had this conversation. You look at grain prices right now, you look at grain prices from a historical standpoint versus inputs. Like, you look at the inflation at the farm level and the lack of margin. Like, farmers this year had very, very, very limited opportunities to book a positive margin, which is, I've been doing this for 21 years. We've always had an opportunity, that's lasted for more than a flash in the pan to book margin. And I argue that when you can buy it on the board for far less than you can produce it, when it comes down to it, it's unsustainable. We saw that in the cattle industry. Like, if you look back over the years, like if you were to look at a 5-year chart and
all
push back,
all the big slaughters where
yes,
they
when we
were
were liquidating
culling the
herds,
herds. Yeah.
yes, we weren't
When was
retaining
that? What year?
heifers.
What year was that? 22?
The 20 into 22, COVID was really rough for the cattle
Okay.
market.
Yeah.
There was a fire at a processing plant in Kansas that absolutely tanked the market. And you really just kind of, when you force farmers to make a choice between something they love and something that they can make money at, you eventually have to pay the piper when you've forced people out, right? Like you can only lose money farming for so long. Like the joke is, how do you
Yeah.
how do you make
That was a
$1
low
billion
COVID.
in farming, start with $1 billion kind of deal? Like that's
Yeah.
just, or start with 2 million, I guess. But yeah, so it's just one of those things where it's not easy to correct either. Because it takes 2 years to get to where
Rebuild.
you can have a heifer, have another cow who can
Yeah.
then maybe have another cow, that can either go into the meat supply that it takes 18 months to grow. And so it's just one of those things that has been interesting to watch as an outsider, but it has been good from a corn demand standpoint too, because it's been a long time since anyone that is feeding an animal, like cattle feeders, and your hog feeders, and even in your poultry side of things, like they're making decent margin, and so they're buying as much cheap corn as they can get their hands on. So that part's been good to see. But yeah, it'd be nice to see some level of price
Supply
support
and
in
be
grains.
because from COVID it's tripled in price.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, that's why your barbecues have been more expensive this summer, guys. There's
Yeah.
the chart. Yeah. Okay, so moving into the fall, what are you really paying attention to?
I'm really going to be watching a continuation of grain flow. The U.S. is one of the cheapest providers of commodities into the world, which is unusual. We tend to be the highest quality, most reliable supplier who commands a bit of a premium to do that. And now we're the most reliable, highest quality supplier who is also the cheapest by significant margin. There's a lot of conversation out there of like we have these massive amounts of supplies and it's just the farmer holding it out of the market. And so I'm going to be watching, and really the only way you're going to see if that's reality or not, if we're going to really get a litmus test when it comes down to what is physical supply versus the idea of physical supply. That's going to take time or a market rally, like probably both, just to kind of see what moves into the pipeline, what the farmer truly has, and whether or not we have this overabundance of grain that everyone wants to talk about. I'm also watching the inflation trade and some of that conversation that we're looking at. Obviously, I feel like we're almost setting ourselves up for a 2020 redo or remix. Not everything will be exactly the same by any means, but if you look back at the chart in 2020, we really kind of coasted into the second week of August. We got a bearish USDA report that was, kind of responded with a bullish, or at the very least, we had a spike low and then it recovered into the end. And we had the derecho, but you saw the market just absolutely rally for a couple of years from there. We'll obviously be watching it. It'll be all about supply at this point. I think demand's pretty secure, and whether or not the funds want to decide to invest in commodities. And so yeah, I don't know. I when I first watched The Big Short, I kind of cringed at the line when he's like, "What do you do?" And he's like, "I'm in commodities." He's like, "Good luck with that." But the other day I thought to myself, well, no shit. That's what he said. Commodities is basically 1 year of fun followed by 4 years of blah. And so yeah, that's where we are. We'll see what the fall brings us.
Okay, so uh any can you come up with a reason? I forgot who I talked to, but they felt that a stronger dollar was actually going to be supportive of grain. So we had a pretty good bout of dollar weakness at the beginning of the year. It didn't help it. Can you come up with a fundamental narrative why a stronger dollar would be constructive for grain prices? I can.
No, but I did have someone kind of argue that same thing with me the other day in passing, on a TikTok video I put out where they were like the dollar's going to continue to weaken. I said, well, that's good for exports, and then they laughed and said that I didn't know what I was talking about. So maybe
Okay.
maybe there's been I don't
A new linkage.
yeah. I don't know.
So Yeah, because they'll need dollars to buy corn and beans, just like they'll need dollars to buy WTI,
I mean,
usually.
yeah, a stronger dollar at this point would help the farmer more than anything, I feel like, just simply because it would give us back a bit more in the way of buying power. There is a lot of
Yeah,
importing fertilizer and other inputs that goes on that, we've also kind of raised the price on some of that here, depending on which country it's coming from and some of these other things. And so, that side would be decent because, there really is a cash pinch going on at the ground level that I've never seen before. Where growers are going to have to make some really, really hard choices here if things don't change very quickly. But when it comes to the export standpoint, to have the weaker dollar, at this level, like I said, I mean, at this point, we're almost 50 cents a bushel cheaper than Brazil and big corn markets.
okay.
And we should see a nice uptick in bean demand show up simply because we are, cheaper into the world markets there. And our wheat is high quality and cheaper as well.
Okay. And a real cool thing is some couples can't even have dinner together, and Angie works with her husband.
Yes.
And for all, so this is the math I see when a partnership works out. 1 + 1 = 11.
I like it.
So, Angie, maybe, we'll be talking again in November. I believe we'll have a change by then.
I
So,
think so. I do. I think we'll see a pretty dynamic repeat of a year ago. Maybe shifted a little bit further forward. And there's just a lot of things. Obviously, we're going to be watching geopolitically with Russia and
right.
Ukraine and
Yeah.
this, that, and the other thing. But I
Yeah.
agree. I'll look forward to it.
Yeah.
I
Because
think
Russia,
they're right.
Ukraine, if they do settle things, which, I'm cynical, that would have something to do with grain supply too.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it could. I mean, at this point, we haven't seen an interruption in grain flow, really since the start of the war. But a lot of folks will think peace automatically is bearish to grains long term.
Right.
But peace is good as a whole. Like peace provides, certainty, stability. But yeah, we'll have to see what Friday brings. I too am pretty skeptical. I'm not really sure Russia's it, but maybe the threat of the secondary sanctions worked or whatever.
Yeah.
We'll see. If it'd probably be helpful for the China U.S. trade conversation if we could come up with some sort of solution.
How about a guess from you on the harvest low?
I think we're
What
pretty close
time?
to it. I
Okay.
think we're going to be early this year. I honestly, I do think that I think December corn bottomed out around 396
Okay.
last week. I think you're
Okay.
probably going to be right around that level. Maybe we test the 385 mark, but I think it comes sooner than later.
You heard this first. Write it down, Angie Setzer. East corn is bottom. The date is August 12th, 2025. So,
Hopefully I'm right. I probably am
yeah.
not. I usually am
Uh,
early, which is just
uh,
as bad as being wrong.
no, it's not. Not if you don't over leverage.
It is true.
If you over leverage right, you have to be right on time all the time, which is uh, not that feasible.
Yeah.
So, thank you, Angie. Great talking to you again. I hope you have a great rest of summer, and we'll be talking in November sometime.
I'll look forward to it. Thanks for having me.
Angie Setzer, follow her on X at the Goddess of Grain. This is her business. If you're thinking about trading grains and you want to be in touch with the fundamentals and Angie and her husband's views on what's happening, boots on the ground in the Midwest while harvest is happening, go to her website, consisag.net, and check them out. So that's going to be a wrap for me, everyone. I hope you have a great day the rest of the day. Don't just count your bushels or stalks or ethanol. Count your blessings. See everyone tomorrow. Adios. See you guys. Thanks, Ingmar.